Hey, welcome back to the gaming news for the gaming that took place during the week of 7 March 2017. It's been a heck of a week with lots of changes in weather, and we're here to bring you more. Yeah, I got my hair cut. So let's get into it. All right. First off, when I arrived to game last Tuesday, it was like Chris and Joel were there, and I was about to start some Cleflin stuff, Blood Brothers, but before I could do anything, Alex shows up, and then so we go off to play Earth 210. And when the Earth 210, where we last left our heroes, were up on Black World. Black World's this, interdimensional space or whatever that has been set aside by Wanda so that these four teams can learn to get to know each other. Because on their regular life on Earth, they're going to go from situation to situation and never really have time to get to know each other. So, and plus, when there's two options. Option one is that they're there for 2 weeks to get to know each other. And option two, both options are actually going to happen, but in parallel universes. And option two is that they're there for 20 years. And so some of the characters, all the characters of all the teams know this and are responding to it differently. And so we last left up. Everybody was still on the Fantasia devices. Yes, it's taken a while for them to do their individual scenarios. We got to play a little bit with Omega Dawn. They were in a Grand Canyon scenario. They had stopped by the river's edge as they're whitewater rafting down the end. Had a meal together, just a quick meal, talking, bouncing off of each other. The city slicker types. Omega Dawn is made up of Adriana Tomez, Megan Morse, Zatanna Zatara, Calvin Rank, and Sam Guthrie, Alan Scott, and Big Barda. And the leader is Christopher Lord, player character. And so the city types like Calvin and Alan and Zatanna are going against the other people that are well used to surviving out in the wilderness. Big Barda is experiencing wilderness instead of the dark apocalyptic world, so she's really enjoying this. Along with she's becoming close friends along with Adriana Tomez, who is in her Isis form, and both of the women being powerhouses have or just got a lot in common. Calvin, Zatanna are talking a lot, mostly the fact, hey, Zatanna's from New Jersey. That's where I picked. They never really said in the comics. And Zatanna, mostly growing up all over the place, but she joined the team from Las Vegas. Hasn't really done this stuff and is much more a city girl and trying not to use her magic to get into handling more crap, becoming stronger because she sees the ladies easily able to. Megan Morse in her Armada form is easily handling this stuff. This stuff is nothing. She's a Martian, and but after they finish their lunch, they get back in the whitewater rafts and head downstream. Then we head over to Stars. We play a little bit with them. They're getting done eating at this hibachi sort of thing in Disney at Epcot. And they have small conversations amongst each other, and then they get up and leave, and they have quite a bit of a conversation talking. Not that I can really remember what it was now, but maybe they're Stars is made up of Kamala Khan, Clarice Ferguson, Mary Marvel, Wally West, and Sam Alexander, Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy. Their leader is Chris Ritz, and they they get as they go as they leave the hibachi grill. They spend a lot of time just talking amongst themselves, going over being a hero, going over what they think they should do next, interests and stuff. Just more morphing together as a team, family, if you will. And because imagine if the Avengers just went and took off and spent time together. I mean, Tony Stark would just drive them nuts. But it would be interesting to see that sort of story. Um, and then we also go to another side scenario of the Argonauts. The Argonauts, excuse me, are made up of Hope Spaulding, Bruce Wayne, Monet St. Croix, Charles Xavier, David Aniline, Tessa, last name, Mindy McCready. And they are on a tropical island, Fiji like, suggested by Monet. And they head ashore there. Bruce has caught a bunch of fish that they're going to cook. And they get everything that they need to cut it up and grill it over a fire that, well, because they're going to roast it in the foil and all that, over the fire that David has made on the beach. Hope wakes up and has more of a conversation with Alex, but when they're all sitting around the fire eating this delicious food, and then they also have fruits and a variety of different tropical foods, Batman starts up asking him conversations like, when did you get in a fight in your youth? And what did you do? Did you run? Did you fight? How did you handle it? And trying to bring everybody out so they get to know each other. And it's also helping Alex get to understand his characters, his team. And as the players, I got NPCs. Chris is playing on that team. He's playing David Aniline, and Joel is playing Charles. So getting them to know these characters, I said just make something up, and they did. And it was working out so pretty good. But it takes time. So the gaming went quick until then Frank showed up, and then we went to Cleflin with a D. This is still on day 2 of Cleflin. These guys still haven't been there not even I think maybe about 15 hours they have been there. So, and yeah, it's shortly after lunch. And so we start off in where we last left our heroes in Mifflin. The Duke's family, they're all there. Let me see, I got a little form thing here of the Duke. They're eating at the Gleaming Castle. Frank and his 3 wives, Zana and Alessandra and Caitlin, and they're all the kids, minus Seth, Ryan, Cella, Luciano, also known as Lucky, Dom, Petra, and Crystal are all there. Yeah, Caleb's not there either. Also, Ben Riley and Floki Prentice are also sitting at the greater table, which is and they just got done watching Frank's and Zana's Zahara Zealot's kid Seth on his adventures. The recording was taken by Juno, and they got to watch a little bit of it. And he's got, there's some stuff I need to report maybe to the king, especially about Shadow Spear and some of the stuff that happened there. And as they break from food, they go off to talk about different things amongst each other. Frank goes up to the throne room, and in the throne room is this magical throne chair that allows them to talk to each of the other throne rooms. And Frank goes and talks to the king. King happened to be in his throne room at the time, because that's what kings do. He just got done eating his lunch. And he's there with the prince. previous to Frank calling him, the king had just got a throne call from the Baron, who, so we're going from Cleflin, which is where the king is, to the barony. It's kind of going backwards a little bit, but that's how I wanted to lead off with this. The Baron up in Camelot it gets visited by his brother Andrew, and as we last week, Andrew was trying to find out from the baronies knowing what happened to his son. Is his son still alive? And yes, his son got blasted into the plane and is still alive, his son Triton. So he's like, okay, well, I'm right here, so let me go talk to my brother, the Baron Ray, and Beth, the Baroness, and let them know what he's found out. And he tells the Baron's distraught. Oh, my nephew Triton, and the Marquis, kind of a friend of mine, but didn't get to really get to know him. But he has the download, so he does know it's Alex. Alex was Dot. And this happened in his land, so, oh man, the elves are going to freak out about this. We don't want the elves to freak out because the elves just lost their leader in Camelot lands, and Camelot had just spent the last 30-some years in the occupying portions of the march, of the Elven March. And so the Marquis just... the Marquis died, and so they're just finding that out. But let me get to this. So Andrew tells Baron Ray. Baron Ray gets on his throne, calls the king. King finds out. King, after he finds out, talks to the prince about what are we going to do? Well, the prince says, hey, I'm going to let the rest of the family know. And then the king tells the Duke, Frank, when he shows up, King Jody. Sounds weird, but it's the truth. Prince Chris. Anyways, they talk, and then now Duke Frank knows that his friend for 20-some years on Red World, the Marquis Alex Prentice, is dead, alas. And poor Yorick, we knew him well. And so he sets things into motion because that's the way Duke is. He's a motion guy and mission based. And so he said he knows that he's got to tell Floki. He goes and tells Floki. Floki's upset. So Floki wants to go back home. He offers that the Duchess with his daughter Chella and his twin sons Dom and Lucky all together they're gonna take him up there via the time spot, which is the shoals. So Alessandra takes Floki and them quickly with Juno's help across the city to the shoals, time spot to the march, and the time spot up in the march is the tabernacle, which is somewhat like the Jewish tabernacle, and because it still has the Ark of the Covenant there. And yes, Ark of the Covenant's in this game. Well, when they appear, before they appear, we'll go to the march. The march, after Matthew Prentice flies back to carrying his dad's body no, he doesn't fly back. Actually, he is Time Lord, and he goes to the nearest time spot going to the tabernacle. Actually, golly, man, I can't keep track of all this actions. He uses the traveling from one time spot, Crow, teleports to the tabernacle and is there with the body. He meets his aunt Madeline, who was the wife of the Marquess, and she's distraught. She uses technology, calls her son Chris, who is down in Aslan, and he is eating meals with the Joneses. John Jones, who's the Lord of Aslan, way hundreds of miles south, and she says, "Come home," and he uses his dimensional traveling power, short burst, to, well, actually, he sees through dimensions and sees through everything. His power is somewhat like his dad's, where he can, zero distance between here and there, but he can fly immediately to where he sees. So he's looking, he uses the map in the throne room at Aslan to see the direction he's got to look at. And he looks through mountains and he looks through everything, and he sees Avatalos. The Pine Castle is the name of their. Avatalos is the capital of the March. Avatalos, and the Pine Castle is the name of the castle there for the elves. He sees it and then heads there and flies immediately, and he arrives home and with his mom, and she's distraught. And they talk about what's going to do next. And he even asks for a second, like, Mom, so you're the Marquis now, right? And she's like, no, that passes down to you. You are now the Marquis. It can't pass to me because I'm not, well, one, a player character. Player characters are the rulers of the greater houses. Wow. So we leave that there. And then the Duchess, Floki, Chella, Dom, and Lucky all arrive at the tabernacle in Shiloh, which is a suburb of Avatalos, and they're going to head to the Pine Castle. So then, wow, I think I covered most of that. And Daniel, okay, so we have a group of adventurers, of royalty adventurers, and that's Seth, Daniel, Seth, Anders, and they, using time spots, went up to the mounds, which is on the, what I call kind of like the Great Plains, if you will. And on these Great Plains there's a barbarian tribe that lives on the steppes there of the plains. They go to the mounds because they see that there are strangers, and then they attack strangers because they don't like people that are new. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're barbarians. Anyways, but these three young mutants, if you will, have no problem fighting these. I mean, first Anders does get shot in the chest by one of their arrows, and a guy hiding out on the mound. And these guys are really tough guys, but they've never dealt with people with powers before. Anders, after they break the spear, Seth and Daniel break the spear, Anders is on a time spot and he heals. Bam! Oh! And no damage, just a scar left over. And Seth and Daniel, then everybody goes into the fight. Mostly Seth. Seth, he's a superior fighter, and he's got a bow and arrow, so he never misses with a bow and arrow. And he shoots these two barbarians that are coming from up the hill at him. He takes them out. And then Anders has a little bit harder time fighting the other one that's up on the one that shot him. Daniel teleports around the mounds to the horses that they have and tries to handle them. But they're war horses, and they're like struggling to fight. And actually, one's kind of semi-intelligent, is giving him a hard time. And, hey, you will not take me. But Daniel's never been on a horse before. So he's seen it in movies, but just on a horse. He's getting bucked off, teleports, doesn't really get hurt. But eventually, Seth kills everybody. I mean, they try not to even. Anders tries not to kill the one guy, but he still kills him. So, Seth kills him. So all the barbarians are dispatched. Oh, also with them, I'm sorry, is James Lord, Tempest's son from Hastings. James Lord is also there, and so he's part of he helped fight the guy up on top of the hill. Anyways, after this, Seth, James Lord James got the ability to access powers that he's been around over 20 some years of growing up in Red World, he's been around a lot of different sets of powers, but they're not exactly like the power. He gets them at different strengths and ranges, and he has to choose amongst the different ranges that he's experienced. So it's really complicated, and he has a hard time, but he uses the telepathy to go in this barbarian's mind and finds out, hey, is there anything special out here? And well, what can we do to get something special? They're adventuring, getting magical items, whatever. So James passes the information on, and apparently there's up to the north of here is a rock-like structure that comes out of the ground, and not structure, but a bunch of rocks that project out of the ground, and that all four of them head to the structure. Not this structure, natural formation, rock formation. Yeah, that's probably the best term. So they head to the rock formation, and there's as he's getting closer, he's starting to sense minds of people underneath, as well as Seth is sensing emotions of people underneath. He can sense emotions, and when he doesn't control them per se like Dad did. He can only control them for short periods, little bursts, bam, 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 having them flicker through a bunch of different emotions and causing them to flip out. Basically causing them to stop action, and because they get semi-confused. He does the same thing with life force. Oh man, my life force gone. It's gone back. It's, that flickering causes them to feel a little sick. Anyways, he uses some of this power. He climbs up on top of the rock, and he starts shooting his arrows down. I should stand up. And he's shooting down at the these mines that join into the battle. Well, they don't know, but the mines that he runs across are Dren. They're a race that lives underground. They're descendants of the Desidans, which are a horned-like race, and elves, which aren't horned, pointed-eared. But anyways, they have both. They have pointed ears and horns, but most of the Dren's horns are right here in their forehead, kind of what we think of a demon-like, or what we might think, but they don't think they're demons. And but they're highly trained warriors, and when they come across these kids with powers, there's 4 of these Dren, and they don't know what they're up against. Quickly Seth, stops 2 of them in their tracks by shooting arrows basically from above right through their armor. He aims and goes through their armor because they're kind of wearing a plate. It's not totally completely covered, but shooting down through, and they almost stop in action. They can't do anything. They're just paralyzed, standing there like, what? Nerve system, and I can't move. And Seth jumps down and goes into melee with another one, and he's having a hard time fighting him and then there's another one coming out of the cave, but Daniel is down there and he's into the fray. Anders uses his time stop and stops time and takes them on, and he finding that he's not able to do as much because he sees that in time stop that, wait, Seth is like a martial artist. He's, half Coda. Cherubim, and his dad mutant. But he can fight very well. And he sees that if I do something that my friend here who's trying to do an action, if I get in the middle of the action while time is stopped, it might cause him to underreact, overreact. It's not a good thing to mess with, martial arts and stop time, and especially when somebody else is already in the middle of action. So he kind of pulls back and lets a lot of things happen, but he does hurt this elven-looking dude, the Dren guy, the Drenny. I'm not really used to using It's a new race I created, so they're also black skinned and white haired, so people might think that they're like dark elves, and that's what when they capture the last guy, still alive, as Daniel's trying to fight him with light blast, boom, 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 boom. He's got like a dark cloak, and it's absorbing the light, and he comes out and he tries to fight, but they wind up capturing him. James changes his powers around to telekinetics, lifts him in the air and holds him tight as they assail him with questions. Raw. While they talk to him, Seth goes and attacks the other two that he left alive earlier, but in paralyzation, cuts their heads off. One actually rolls around for a little bit. Yeah, pretty deadly guy. Oh, son of a coda. And, but they say nothing to him about it. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't kill everybody because that's not how we were raised. James, Seth, and Daniel did grow up together. Not immediately, but they've known each other their whole lives. And where am I at in time? Oh, 26 minutes. Okay. So, one of the things that Alex is like, are you an elf? Or are you dark elf? And he's just like, no, are you a demon? He's like, maybe I'm both. And this guy who hasn't, a solid like Tagalog accent, which would make other people who played this before go, oh, they're dark elves, because dark elves spoke Tagalog in my old game way back. So that was dark elvish. But no, in this case, they don't admit to anything, and I think they still are holding them there, and I don't think they kill them yet, as we last left playing. And it was really late hours. And just furthering on, Andrew, Lord Andrew leaves Camelot and heads towards Hastings. The Marquess, Count of Hastings, gives him permission to enter the realm, which you don't normally need. Most people have been flying all over the place, not asking for permission. And because Andrew's trying to get his daughter Coral, who teleported with Zara, to Baxter's. So that's a lot of left off place, and we'll join you. Hey, if you like listening to these stories, subscribe above or over there maybe. And if you have any comments to make or questions, leave them below. It's good to hear you. Got next week, and then I'm off to Scotland, so I'll see you next week.